forgot to do that in this meeting. We went 17 minutes without recording, but anyways, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. And I recognize that Acha is present, Aaliyah is present, Joshua is present, Liam is present, Pooja is present, Rokamon is present, Siri is present, and Victor is present, as well as ex officio members Candace, Courtney, Tori, and Murshad, and Sierra, and 2 FYAs. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. That was probably the wrong one. You all see the agenda. I'm going to take that as a yes. All right. I saw Courtney. All right. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at this. Always have the time to. Aaliyah, if you wanted to go ahead and make your amendment now, that's fine, but you don't have to until we get to it.
Okay, I can amend it now. I have 2 amendments to make. First amendment is for adding the monthly like finance board check-in that is due on the 21st. I guess we can add that like at the end, like after the liaison check-in. Oh, I don't know. I move to add that to the agenda. Yeah.
Just seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? I see here no objections, so by general consent, we are amending the agenda to add a discussion on the monthly report. And you said you had one? Yeah.
Yeah, and then we made changes to the SRC, how you guys will submit that, because people said that it wasn't as convenient as the previous method. So I would like to move to add that update to the agenda on the SRC forms.
Pooja seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? I see here no objections, so by general consent, we are adding a new section on update to SRC process. And are there any more amendments that people would like to propose? Joshua?
I would like to move to amend the agenda to include an FYA introduction, since we have a few on the call today.
Pooja seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? I see here no objections by joint consent. We are going to add a FYA introduction. Is there a preference to where we add it? Preferably at the beginning?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Wherever you think is safe.
Okay. Actually, that's not going to work. Oh my goodness. I do not like Google Docs. I'll fix that later. All right. Are there any? Both, Aaliyah. All right. Are there any more amendments for the agenda? Going once. Going twice. All right, no more amendments at the moment. With that, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I motion to approve the agenda for October 13th, 2020.
Second. Seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? If you hear no objections, so by general consent, the agenda for October 13th has been approved. Now we can move on to the minutes. I have to scroll. Yeah. So we're just going to scroll through. It was a long week last week, so.
Hey, Mershad, just a reminder, you're not muted right now.
All right, my fire alarm is going off at the moment, so if you're hearing beeping in the back, that's also me. Nothing's wrong, you guys. We're having issues with it, that's all. So, with that, that's the end of the minutes from last week. So, if there is a motion to approve the minutes,
I move to approve the meeting minutes.
Pooja seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? I see and hear no objections, so by drawing consent, the meeting minutes from October 6th have been approved. We can go back to our agenda, and we're going to begin with our FYA introductions. So for our two FYAs who are with us, we're going to go through a quick introduction of the board and our advisors so you know who we are, and then you guys will have a chance to introduce yourselves to everyone. Nice background, Joshua. To begin with, my name is Sierra Dubuque. I am currently serving as the chair of the finance board. I use she, her, hers pronouns. And we're just going to go in alphabetical order. So, Acha, you are next.
Hello, my name is Acha. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a finance board representative and a sophomore biology major here at UMBC. Nice to meet you guys.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah. I am the vice chair of the finance board. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I hope you guys will have a fun meeting.
Candace, you can go if you want.
Am I next?
Yeah, alphabetical
No?
order.
Oh. Okay. I see someone else after Aaliyah. But I can go. I'm Candace Martinez Stone, Assistant Director for Leadership and Governance. I also serve as the SGA advisor. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm not a voting member of this body. And I'm happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Courtney Campbell. I'm on the Finance Board of Advisors. I serve as the coordinator for student organization development and campus life. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am a non-voting member.
Hello, my name is Joshua Gray. I serve as the Vice President for Student Organizations. I use the He series. It's nice to meet you, and please forgive my background. I wish I had a picture of Commons 318 to set a better tone, but this will do for now.
Hi, my name is Liam Bennett. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm a voting member of the Finance Board.
Both of our FYAs have M names before Mershad, so if you guys would like to go ahead and introduce yourselves in the alphabetical order, you guys can go ahead.
Okay, my name is Mahira Chaudhary. I'm FYA, and I'm really excited to kind of see how things work. Just by the beginning, I know it's like really formal, and so that's really cool. And I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a biochem major.
My name is Matthew, and I'm the other FIA person, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm a computer science major, and I use he, him, his.
Hi everyone, my name is Mershad Devon. I am a third-year student majoring in biology and physics on a pre-med track, and I'm currently serving as the SGA president.
Hi guys, my name is Pooja Patel. I serve as a finance board rep. I am a voting member of this body. I'm a senior majoring in mathematics. Glad to have you guys here for the meeting. Thank you for coming.
Hello, my name is Rahman. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am currently a voting member of the UMBC SGA Finance Board.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go next, but hi everyone. My name is Siri. I'm treasurer. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and currently a bio and psych major. And it's nice to meet you all. I hope you guys enjoy our meeting.
Tony, did you want to go?
Hi, Tony. I'm currently the secretary of finance board, and today's my first day. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm a biology major.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tori Heasley. I am an advisor. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and formally, I am the coordinator for student organization engagement.
Hi, my name is Victor Kende. I'm a finance board representative. I use him, his pronoun, and I'm a biochem major. I think that's all we have to say. And welcome to FYA. I was on FYA last year, so.
All right, I think that is everyone. Again, welcome to our FYAs. Hopefully you guys can stay for a little bit. Hopefully you learn a lot over the year. We have a lot of work on our plates, beginning with these Sahas requests. If you remember, FBBR-150 TEDx UMBC was from last week. We have basically received guidance to not fund it, so we're just going to go ahead and vote on it unless anyone has anything they would like to speak about on this. My brain stopped working on this legislation and request. If not, we can go ahead and approve FBL 06 for voting. Going once. Going twice. All right. If nobody has anything to discuss about this, we can just go on to voting. That was the wrong document. Here's FBL 06-2021. Is there a motion to approve this document for voting?
Motion to approve FBL 06-2021 for voting.
Puja seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? I see or hear no objections, so by general consent, FBL 06-2021 has been approved for voting. As always, please leave your vote in the chat. All representatives for. All representatives opposed. Aaliyah.
Would we say aye if we're against, or would we say nay?
You can say nay.
Okay.
It is a unanimous vote against this document.
I don't think it was unanimous.
Yes, I voted for it.
Oh, you did? Sorry, I was just on a let me just watch all the nays roll in kind of deal.
You're fine, Sierra.
Yeah. Well, either way, this document has failed to pass. So I will be reaching out and telling them that's not today, that was yesterday. I am very tired, y'all. So with that, FBL 06 has failed. And again, I will reach out to them. And that's that. So now we can move on to FBBR-125. We do have the president from Hack UMBC with us tonight. So I would just like to invite them to discuss more about their request because we do have quite a few questions regarding it. So I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm gonna say yeah. Yeah,
Hello.
you're welcome
Hi.
to discuss.
Yeah, hi. I'm Anukia, everyone. So, do you want to do more of like a question and answer sort of situation? I'm more than happy to go into the details of Hack UMBC this year, specifics of it. I think that might be the best way to approach. So, what specific questions did you all have for us?
I think it'd be helpful if you gave a rundown of the event so that that might pre-answer a lot of the questions that are had. So if you could just give us a rundown of the event, what you're asking for, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were told the SAS was basically the finance board was offering money. In the past, you all have given money, and so basically, okay, so the rundown of the event this year is going to start on Friday, November 13th through the 15th, and it consists of workshops and speakers and panels and various other events, kind of like your everyday virtual conference. But on top of it, it will be taking place in a virtual space called Gather Town. It's basically a combination of Animal Crossing, a 2D platform that you can see where hackers are and event attendees that can go communicate with other members. And on top of it, like past years, Hack UMBC is still a digital hackathon. Digicon or a makeathon, as many people say, where attendees come to create and explore new innovative ideas, and we provide them with resources, anything ranging from mentors to actual like software-based resources. In the past, we've been able to give them hardware to work with. Since we are now in a digital age, we can't do hardware as much, but we do have hardware-based categories that where hackers can request, like, hey, can we have an Arduino, Raspberry Pis? We'll be providing them with as such to better their projects and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the gist of our entire 3-day event. And at the end of all this, we have our sponsor judges, such as Tiro Price, Booz Allen, Lidos. Those are all companies that are currently in our sponsor roster that will be doing judging based on their challenges. It's also a combination of a career fair as well. So lots of different things. Overall branding of it is it's a hackathon focused on innovation, breaking barriers, and cool projects, with a combination of career fair, learning new technologies, and exploring tech from a healthcare, education, connectivity perspective. Those are our tracks this year. So yeah, hope that answers a lot of it. Any questions following that?
Pooja?
Hi, Anuya. Thank you so much for coming to the meeting and your time. So I was just looking at the application, and it says that you guys need funding for $1K for registration fees, right?
Yeah, so specifically, we are looking for funding for Hackers Flag, which is where most of our funding goes towards, is such as shipping and putting like actual like sending items out to our hackers. In the past, we've had other expenses such as food and so on and so forth. So right now, we're looking for really any money that SGA has to offer. Currently, we are pretty. We're almost at our target of funding. I would say we are actually just less than 2K away from hitting our funding target, which is 20K for this hackathon season. So
the registration fee, sorry to cut you off. So just to clarify, so the registration fee that you're asking for is not actually for registration, it's for merchandise delivery, like to cover the shipping charges that are in the deficit on your budget?
Sure. So can I actually get a clarification here? So when in our application, I actually didn't fill out our application. Alina, also on the call, filled out the application specifically, and I was just helping her with the guidance of it. She's our treasurer, and so she handled the whole finance board thing. So I'm curious specifically when we said registration fee, I think that encompasses a large portion of not necessarily merchandise, but I mean, does swag consider merchandise?
Yeah, anything, yes, it does.
Okay, so yes, swag is a portion of it, along with our tech platform. For GatherTown, it's costing us a significant amount of money and shipment. So yes, the answer to that is yes, registration wise, because most of our hackers get merchandise sent to them. Prizes is another thing for the event, so on and so forth.
So will you be able to give us information on how much of this registration fees is going for GatherTown and how much is going for the rest of the merchandise and swag bag?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So that was the first question. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say absolutely. And I believe I had forwarded our budget for the current year. You can take a close look at our budget. There should be a breakdown of everything in there, of specifically like how much swag, how much shipping is costing, and how much our like hosting services are costing, so on and so forth.
My next question was on the follow-up on that question. So for the budget, it looks like you guys have surplus for everything except for the shipping charges. So is there a way you can move around those amounts to cover for the shipping charges, or are they specifically sponsored by sponsors for those line items?
No, we could totally move it around. So sponsors usually give money to Hack UMBC as a whole. Like Hack UMBC itself is a club organization, and Hack UMBC puts on an event every semester usually. We'll see what COVID has for us in store. Based on how this digital event goes, our plan is to go into, as you can see right there, is their sponsorship packet. So that's what we send to our sponsors, and we offer them various benefits. So that way we can get our tier based sponsorship. Another thing that I know SGA at other schools has done, which I was curious if SGA might be interested here, is doing an SGA based challenge where we can say UMBC students can build something for connectivity and tech based usage specifically for UMBC. That's something that we could look into as well. But that I think goes farther beyond this conversation right here. So we could definitely move around where the money goes. The short answer to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Sarah, are you recognizing me in the chat? Yes. Okay.
Sorry.
Great. So hi, I'm Candace. So I guess I have a couple of questions for this request. If I'm looking at your budget correctly, the total right now for your event is around $11,000, correct?
That is approximating that shipping expenses will not go above. So I just had a conversation today. Make that more around 6K. So add on 2K to the budget right now, because I had a conversation with our fulfillment center today and they told us shipping will cost around 6K, which is exciting to deal with. But yeah.
So shipping swag is going to cost you $6,000?
Considering that that is overestimating with international as well as UMBC like local. We are in event looking at approximately 500 plus attendees currently.
Okay. And how many? Okay, and how many of those attendees would be UMBC students?
I would say as of now, we currently have a 40% ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
our usual, like how it is split up, is that it goes towards 70 and 30% out of state students and 70% UMBC. With COVID, it's been a bit difficult, if I'm being completely transparent. So
Sure. Um, so you're estimating, and have you started collecting registrations for this event?
yeah,
Okay.
we have.
And how many people do you currently have registered?
We have exactly 412 as
Okay.
of now.
And approximately 40% of those students or participants are UMBC students.
Yeah.
So let's round up and give you 200, right?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
And so I can tell you, well, okay. So that's good information to know. So back to this budget. So let's just add, another couple, $1,000 to this. Anyway, so this budget is incorrect as of right now, is what you're telling us.
Yeah, it is incorrect
Okay.
because we do now have new numbers and we might have to allocate more for prizes as well. So as of now, that budget is out of date for sure.
Okay. And so then my other question is around the amount of money you're asking for, and specifically how that relates to the secondary ad hoc allocation system, which is what this is. So, and I'm sure you can see the screen right here with the comments from one of our finance board members. So, the application process for SAHAS is tiered, and based on how much you are asking for, there is a number of days out that you have to request by. And so you're asking for, in this application, $3,000. And that would mean that you would have had to ask for that and submit this application 45 days out. This application was not submitted within that guideline. It was submitted 36 days out. And so based on that, and based on the budgetary statutes of the finance board, the most that they could possibly consider you for is $1,000.
Okay.
Because it would fall in the because you would have met the 30 days out for $1,000. I think the other thing that's mentioned in these comments right here, and my children were also speaking to me at one point, so sometimes I half listen to them. So I'm sorry if I missed some of this. Is that the one of the things that you're asking for is GatherTown, right? Which is it a SaaS product that you would be using as software as a service?
It is not. Oh, sorry. Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay. So the university has pretty rigorous standards around what it will pay for.
To follow that up, we're currently in review with Do It for GatherTown.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Do you know when that process will be completed?
They are taking a very long time.
They tend to?
Yeah, hopefully within the next week. I do plan on sending a follow-up email. I've been answering a couple of questions. The CEO of GatherTown has actually offered a partial sponsorship as well. So we're hoping that we won't pay as much as we have to. A lot of these expenses I think we can get cut down. So wherever we're not using that, a lot of the money will hopefully be in our I guess our reserve for spending it on like other workshops and doing various events throughout this season. Because before we used to do one big event and we were basically done after that one big event. Now we're thinking of doing multiple different events, such as like digital like workshops, so on and so forth. So I think that's kind of, as the event is coming closer and closer, our team is realizing that, okay, maybe our approach has to be slightly different in that sense. But as of getting sponsorship for these applications, outside resources that we're using, it's going in the proper direction. So hopefully, as of we wouldn't have to ask finance board for even that 1K. As our event is getting closer, we're seeing a lot of our costs get cut back. Another thought is that we don't even want to ship international unless it's prizes, which
Sure.
would save us a lot of money. And honestly, for that matter, we're not too focused on having an international audience. Our sponsors themselves are like, hey, like we really don't care about international students. We just want people locally in the DMV area who want to work for Tiro or XYZ
Yeah.
companies. And that's something that we might have to stick with as well. So the point here is that our budget has definitely like shifted from what we submitted to better reflect that. I'm more than happy to follow up with another budget that's more up to date currently.
Yeah, I mean I think you've provided some useful information in particular around GatherTown, because I think here come my children, so I apologize for any screaming that they may do. I think that information about GatherTown is really useful, especially for the board. And I'll let me elaborate on why. You know, given that it is being vetted through that process by information technology and then hopefully possibly procurement if it does pass their security whatevers, then it could be part of what is considered. Granted, anything that is considered has to have some sort of documentation, and right now there is no contract like anything on file, and so they can't like allocate funds for something that they don't have any paperwork for. Right. Or any sort of backup documentation for. The budget that you provide is helpful, but what they're probably more in need of is like a purchase order or contract for whatever software that has been vetted by the university, or if you're buying giveaways, what those giveaways are, how much they cost, what the shipping is, who you're shipping from, what the quote is from them, what you're trying to do for marketing, where you're purchasing or buying those marketing services from, but your application doesn't really have any of that.
Right. No.
And so it's hard. They can't really consider a lot of this because they don't have any of that. And so, and this is more for the board. I would encourage the board to table this until you've been provided more information about and documentation on these things. And then also remember that according to your budgetary statutes, that there are some limitations on how much you can fund them. That's all. Okay. I talked a lot. I'm really sorry. I've taken up a lot of space in this meeting.
And quick question, following that up, specifically, is there like a timeline for when this funds can be allocated to us, if at all? And what is the timeline?
I can take that, Sierra. Like, so if and when the board approves you for funding, it would, they would vote on it, and then it would get forwarded to the president for signature. That typically takes maybe a day, and then that information is then forwarded over to SABSC. And then once SABSC and David Royer know how much money Finance Board has given or allocated, then you can go ahead and start filling out res gaffs to get things taken care of. So. Yeah.
The reason I asked that is because honestly, as of what we're looking at right now, I think the best way for our team to approach this is to deal with a lot of this post-event. And for the event itself, our main focus is really just marketing and putting on a good show for event attendees. And then the shipping, the swag, and everything we plan on dealing with after the event. So then we'll have more of the exact numbers, prizes, and so on and so forth. So.
Just for a point of clarification, Finance Board won't consider things that have already happened.
Right.
So
okay.
if it's through Finance Board, it has to be before the event happens.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. But yeah, any other questions for me?
I did, Sarah. Is that cool? Cool. Yeah, so I think, and I did notice that your treasurer Alina's here as well, so it might be helpful if Alina can answer some of this too. But I think there's just still some confusion as far as what you're requesting for. So there's 1K for marketing and merchandise, 1K for contracts, and 1K for registration. I think it would just be really helpful. And I don't know if that budget that was listed below is supposed to be a breakdown of all of this, because obviously it adds up to more. So it's just a lot of gray area as to what specifically you're asking for and how much each thing is, since technically you don't have registration fees. So if and maybe Alina could be a little helpful with this too, but to actually give a breakdown of what you're asking for, since this isn't reflective.
Yeah. Hey guys. So I actually wanted to talk about a little bit about what I thought especially the virtual conference and competitions cost, what I thought that line was asking for. So when I entered the $1,000, when I requested that, it was because I thought that in the competition and the virtual conference cost, that would also include having at first we were planning to use Discord, and now we're planning to use. Sorry, I'm trying a blank. We're planning to use, I think, Anuhia, can you pitch in for the platform that we're using this semester?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're using GatherTown with a combination of Zoom, and along with that, we'll be using Discord. So our Discord night server will be boosted, which will cost a bit of money. The exact numbers have not been calculated out yet. So Sierra, I think, or Tori, going back to the exact, what exactly are we asking for finance board is honestly, when we first started filling out this application was completely different from where we are right now. Right now, our biggest things that we would spend our money on are on platforms, and specifically dealing with marketing would be another thing, boosting our social media marketing, and just making sure that hackers, specifically UMBC students, get their merchandise and just shipping, so on and so forth. So the exact cost breakdown of that is a combination of, currently we have, I want to say 16K of pledged sponsorship from our corporate sponsors, and we are currently just looking to fill in that 4K gap of potentially just overestimating however much money we will need to put on a really good event. And whatever money does not get utilized for this year, which I don't think Finance Board is really concerned with, because you all are more of an event-to-event situation, correct? So basically, the money that you would give us would go towards hacker platforms and usage of those platforms, along with shipments and swag, specifically merchandise.
Okay, so I think it's important to note that finance board, whenever their funding, is giving for specific things. So it can't be like, technically it can be, but you have to go through a reallocation process if you want to use money from one area to another. For this specifically, it probably would have been better to do an on-campus event. On campus, obviously, just the form is more formatted for this type of aspect. But as far as using Zoom and Discord, is that money that Finance Board would be paying for? And I'm asking that because UMBC's Finance Board uses state money, and as a state school, we use WebEx. So state funds can't be used towards certain platforms, as stated before, specifically Zoom.
Got it. Okay. Gotcha.
So I think as Siri kind of added in here, it would be really helpful to kind of see more of a breakdown of what you're asking for. And is the marketing and merchandise what you're asking for from Finance Board, specifically prizes?
Yes, a combination of, honestly, you'll probably just go all towards prizes currently, because that's where our lack is at the moment. Prizes would include shipping, because we usually ship it from Amazon, and we use Prime to ship the products. So per product price, to be honest, Pooja, we do not know specifically just yet. that's something that our team has yet to discuss. So honestly, as Siri had said, I think from the sound of this conversation for myself and Alina itself, I think it would be best for us to update the application once again with the more concrete numbers and such, and then move forward from there. Is that something that Finance Board suggests us to do as well, or?
Yes, I think it would be beneficial for us to table it, so you guys can have the time to go in and make the updates to the application.
Sure.
And then we can invite you back next week to vote on it.
Sounds great. All right, sweet. Anything else?
We have Aaliyah and Tori in the chat. Is Tori in response to me or something else?
More so suggestions, so Aaliyah can go first.
All right, Aaliyah.
Yeah, I was wondering how much, if this event has been funded in the past, how much money you were funded in the past.
From Finance Board?
Yes.
I want to say approximately 1.5. It has varied in the past years. I know last year we didn't get it. I know one year there was a good amount that you all gave us. So, to be honest, I don't know the exact numbers. I've only been the president for a year, so I was co-director last year.
Okay, thank you.
Tori.
Yeah, so what I wanted just to add is if you are going to redo the budget, some things that I know you're asking for that Finance Board just doesn't fund. So Finance Board does not fund prizes. For students, they don't, and just so you know separately, make sure you are going through a prize form too. So no matter where you're getting that from, if a UMBC body is giving prizes, whether it's paid from Finance Board or other areas, make sure you do get those prize forms. Yeah. But Finance Board does not fund merch like that for prizes. So when you are revisiting, keeping in mind that the max that can be considered at this point is 1K. And if it is, what was I just going to say? If it is platforms, making sure that those have been, that there is proof that it's been approved by the university, that those are things we can consider. It would also be helpful too, if those are things you're going to ask for, maybe shooting us an email prior so we can just see if that's something that we know we can or cannot do prior to the meeting. Like Zoom, we already know that that's just a no-go because we're a WebEx campus. But things like Discord and other areas like that. So just wanted to give you some guidelines on that before you go and relook at the budget.
Sure thing. Yeah, that's really helpful, Shori. Thank you. I think that's everything.
Yeah, Pooja mentioned a board discussion. I'll leave it up to the board to decide if they want to do that real fast. Not obligated to do so.
What is a board discussion?
So a board discussion would be a period of time for the finance board members and the advisors and ex officio members to, break down what we're thinking about doing with the application. The club and the representatives are not allowed to participate unless they hear something that's been twisted or was misinterpreted. They can clear up any confusion, but really it's just for the board to decide and basically get on the same page.
Sure.
Yeah.
The board.
I think that'd be helpful.
How does the board feel about this? Are we allowed to say, or?
Yeah, I'm Joshua.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move to enter into a period of discussion.
Second.
Are there any objections? I see there are no objections, so by general consent, we are going to enter a period of discussion on FBR-125. If you have Siri.
Well, yeah, a lot was said, but basically for now, we mostly have to wait for them to update the application and specifically ask for stuff. because I did previously read their budget, but like I said, their budget was more money than the asked from us, so I didn't really understand how that played into what they needed from finance board. We gave them a lot of information. They now know that we can't fund Zoom, where we have to get clarification on Discord. So that takes care of like the platform part, they said. We told them we couldn't fund prizes. So I think the other part they were asking for is merchandise, I think. So I guess that's the main thing they'll be asking for. So as long as like they can specifically say like, oh, we are requesting this amount from finance board for this, if there's a contract there, if they need to include the actual contract for us to look at, and they just keep in mind of dates and the total amount we can fund for them is $1,000. If all that is like good to go on the application, I think we should definitely look into funding an event because it seems like it's a really good event, and I'm honestly excited for them.
Pooja?
I think Siri covered most of what I was going to say, but yes, definitely it will be helpful for us to get a breakdown of things. For example, what is the per product price? How many products you're ordering? And Tori just said that for marketing. Okay, thank you, Tori, for the clarification. And I would also like get information on Gather Town's update, like after Do It has a say in it. That will be helpful.
Joshua?
Yeah, I echo the point of Gather Town. I think that having that update from Do It is going to be very important. But I also want to resurface the conversation that we had with David earlier in the semester of ordering things and then how those things that are ordered from Amazon have to be shipped to the university, and then what's the mechanism for getting those out to different students. So I'm not even quite sure if the packages can be delivered directly to the participants of the program. So that's one point that I wanted to make. And then the second point is but also if the budget when it comes back is just prizes, I think it's a conversation of like, are we willing to spend $1,000 on just prizes, recognizing that they are in our budgetary policy or budgetary statutes, they are limited funded items. And in particular, that's Article 9. I'm looking at it right now. So that's a whole nother conversation of like, is this something that we are going to be saying we're going to fund in its entirety? And then also resurfacing the fact that 60% of the participants won't be from UMBC. So are we going to be spending that $1,000 on prizes, giveaways, whatever, that won't be going to UMBC students? I think that is, in my head, something that I'm having a difficult time grappling with. I 100% love the event. I've never participated in it because I know nothing about hacking on BC. I know nothing about hacking, not my specialty, but I've heard a lot of my friends across campus just rave about the program. But I think that like this year, some of the things that they're requesting for are just a little muffled.
Pooja?
So on the point of marketing, the max that we can fund is $250, like Tori said, and I think $250 is for what they buy from Common Vision packages, so that will not include any shipping charges, correct, Tori?
Right. So marketing would be in a normal year, like the banners you'd see, or using a animator. I couldn't think of the word animator to create stuff for social media, for websites, things like that. So it would be, in this case, digital marketing, in a normal year, posters, flyers, banners, things like that. So it would be specifically event marketing.
Okay, I think I confused myself with the merchandise and marketing. Just wanted a clarification on that.
Yeah, so the merchandise, this is completely different than the marketing and merchandise funds. So that's its own separate pot versus what you can ask for an event. So if you see on the budget that Sierra has up, how it says Common Vision materials, $1,000. Common Vision specifically is max $250 because that's the largest package that they have for student organizations.
Siri.
Yeah, I was just gonna like go back to some of Joshua's points. Literally, basically we won't like fund everything they ask for. It'll literally just be exactly how we look at all other applications. They're gonna send a request with our recommendations, and then whatever, even if that's for $1,000, if it's like, oh, we want 1,000 for marketing, well, clearly we won't be given 1,000 for marketing because we have a max. We'll literally just go by our policy. So they said about 40% undergrad students, and we're rounded to 500, so that'll be about 200. So if they ask for something and we do the 200 times whatever their per cost is, if it's less than 1,000, then we'll literally just give them what we can give, you know. I just wanted to like clear up that part. So from here, we just kind of just need them to ask for money at this point and tell us what they're asking for. And then from there, as a board, we can go through our policies and decide how much we can and should give them. If that makes sense, Josh?
Joshua.
I'm always on mute and I just can't seem to find the button sometimes. No, but I was going to say, yeah, I agree. But if we are saying rounding it up to 50% and then at the end of the day cutting that budget in half, whatever budget they return with, it's like, are we setting them up for success in their event then, rather than setting expectations now? So that's the conversation. Like, I am 100% for seeing a budget in next week's meeting, but I also am having a very difficult time with, well, what are the expectations that everyone's leaving this meeting with? So that's one point. But I also just wanted on the record to commend them for their fundraising and their sponsorship. I think that, one, that's amazing that you were able to raise that much money. And two, I might be coming to you for a lesson because that is definitely something that I just have not been able to wrap my head around. So congratulations on that.
Tori.
Yeah, Joshua, I just wanted to make a clarifying point. So whenever an event has, and I know that this event at the top did say like estimated UMBC and estimated non-UMBC students, what you consider is the max of that number. So as it was already said, 40% will not be UMBC students. So Finance Board does not put any funding towards non-undergrad UMBC students. So just as a blanket statement. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that, Candace, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know specifically where, but you all just don't fund prizes. That's just a thing that isn't funded. It hasn't been in the past.
Yeah, I have to look.
While they are looking, who can go?
I actually have a question related to that. So if we can fund, I'll ask the question. If we can't, then never mind.
Okay. Other than that, is everyone, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Is everyone following the conversation? Is everyone understanding everyone's sentiments? Quick yes or no in chat, a little discussion in chat can happen. That's fine. All right. Okay, it looks like everyone's good.
So the specific language in your guiding documents is that you shall not fund, what does this say? You shall not fund costs in excess of the following limits. standards for prize giveaways and individual property requests. So there, I'm sure, is a limit for what can be given away as a prize. And your guiding documents say that you shall not fund outside of those limits. I will say that the practice of the finance board has been to not fund prizes. That they, that you just typically have shied away from that as a rule. But it looks like your current statutes allow you to fund them, but you just haven't done it.
It's also under the subsection 9.1.6 that say limitations set by the SGA Finance Board as noted and presented before the Finance Board and forwarded to the Business Center. And that it's with funds, dues. I mean, dues is in there. They've never done dues. Individual property.
Right, yeah. I'm looking at the same section.
Yeah.
9.1 says
I just wasn't sure what that added to.
Yeah. And presented before the finance board and forwarded to business element two. Yeah, so I mean, your standards, limitations set by the SGA Finance Board is noted and presented before the Finance Board and forwarded to the Business Center. Yeah, so you get to set those standards, I guess is what that says. But also there may be other things that play into how much you can fund those things for. Again, your practice has been to not fund those things, to not fund prizes. I know that's not an answer of an answer.
Should there be context as to why they haven't done it in the past?
Yeah, I mean, the context is you just didn't like to do it. I mean, like the things like they're giving out, people are like, oh, we want to give gift cards as prizes. No, you can't buy gift cards with state money, so you don't do it. Or, oh, we want to give out just cash money. Who's that going to? And like, right, like it, so it just has gotten sticky. And then, as Joshua added, there's this whole other layer right now around COVID and around the state's, the UMBC's ability to receive and track packages when there's no one really doing that on campus for student affairs because there's nobody in the offices for student affairs. And so, you know, it adds what finance board has been told is as of right now, and I know it sounds so like, well, why can't you figure it out? I don't know. That as of right now, there really isn't a mechanism for student organizations to buy things because there isn't anyone to receive those packages or those items, because anything that's bought with state money has to be shipped to a state like office or location to then be signed for and tracked that it actually got to the place it was supposed to go. And because those offices are closed, nobody can really receive them. Because nobody can receive them, they can't be shipped. So it's sort of this chicken and egg kind of thing. But again, we're talking about a thing that we've already talked about.
Yeah. I was going to say for why it hasn't happened in the past is that finance board hasn't typically funded prizes because in previous finance board words, it wasn't a good use of the student dollar for the reason of when funding events, the purpose is to help, and help's not the right word, attract as many UMBC students as possible, and putting money towards that, and prizes are like go to one person type of thing. So that's typically why the finance board hasn't done prizes in the past or giveaways. The most that has happened has been like decorations. So if decorations are like table centerpieces, those would be given away at the end, because what are they going to do? Throw them away, or just like, sure, random person, you can walk away with this little centerpiece. But that's really the max of what has happened in the past.
Pooja?
I was just gonna state my comment, but Candace just answered it, so never mind.
If everyone sees Pooja's question in the chat, she's just trying to narrow down what you, when this is brought back, what you can consider funding for marketing through Common Vision, and a contract for this possible software, and like if it passes through the DUET process. Those are really the things you could consider funding.
Can I say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that makes complete sense. Like, this conversation really helped us. So, and I guess the following step for us is we'll update our application and send it back to you all and follow up with the Do It official, like, once they have approved the platform, hopefully they will approve it. Coming back to you all with that. Is that a good step moving forward from our end?
Definitely.
Okay, solid. Great. Anything else, folks, before we hop off the call?
Sorry to jump in. I just wanted to add also it will be helpful for us to know if you can bring down your Common Vision budget to 250 or not.
I believe we can. In the past, we have actually just used Common Vision as our marketing package because they did an amazing job with our marketing, in the sense, and on-campus marketing was always so easy to do with Common Vision because they had the perfect student org package. But this year, I don't think we've had a conversation with Common Vision yet, and I want to see what they're offering, and then we'll come back to you with specifically if we will be moving forward with Common Vision for their package, which honestly we probably will, because if I'm being 100% real, I completely forgot Common Vision existed with COVID, and I just didn't really think that they were still open. But from this conversation, sounds like they're still active and open. So we'll approach them and get back to you all with that.
All right. We're still in a period of discussion, so if somebody would like to, yeah, Siri, you can go ahead.
I move to end period of discussioning for FBR-125.
I second.
Are there any objections? I see here no objections, so by general consent, we are ending this period of discussion on FBVR-125. For Hack UMBC real fast, if you make updates to your application, please reach out to me. I'm putting my email in the chat. It is also available on our SGA page, because I do not believe that SurveyMonkey like updates us. So I just want to make sure that we're keeping tabs on that. So
thank you all so much. Really appreciate taking your time to talk about this, and hopefully we'll be back to chat more about it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Tori.
Yeah, I remembered why. We didn't do prizes in the past unless it was decorations, because usually they're considered equipment or they're gift cards. That's what it is. There we go. That's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Now, if there is a motion to table FBLO 8 for next week.
I move to table FPL 08-2021 till next week.
Pooja seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? I see we have no objections by general consent. We are tabling FBLO 8-2021 for next week's meeting. And now we can move on to our discussion on Sahas for next semester. If you do not remember last week's meeting, this discussion was more so for picking a date or a time frame to open up the application for next semester, so then we're not like, getting an onslaught of Sahas requests really early. There was something else that I wanted to mention, but I can't remember it right now. So if anyone would like to enter or move to enter a period of discussion, you can.
I move to enter into a period of discussion on Sahas for spring 2021.
Joshua seconds in the chat. Are there any objections? I see here no objections to withdraw consent. We are entering a period of discussion on Sahas for spring. I felt like there was a really long time after that motion for a second. So if anyone would like a little bit more clarification on what I was planning on for this discussion, please let me know. I would pull up the minutes, but it would probably take a long time to find the right section. Joshua?
Yep, that may double as me liking more clarification as well as wanting to say, could you just give a very brief synopsis of a conversation just to catch everyone up with what we're going to be speaking about today?
Yeah, so last week we made a binding vote to scrap semester budgets. I can actually try and pull up the document, but I'm not gonna do that for the sake of the fact that I'm sharing my screen. I believe I shared it last week after the meeting to everyone. So if you would like to pull up that document that we were working on, feel free to. But we had a binding vote to scrap semester budgets and basically focus on Sahas and do the same process that we're doing this semester for next semester. And I think within the logistics of everything, we don't want to have two Sahas applications open. At the same time, we don't want clubs to get confused. That's just how I'm taking it right now. There's a timeline that we need to set for student orgs for them to begin submitting Sahas requests, especially for those groups like Mock Trial who have conferences and competitions. And already have all that stuff set up and ready to go, especially since Sahas is first come first serve. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but it is escaping my thought process right now. I might have it written down. Hold on. Yeah, all I have written down from last week's meeting was a date for the Sahas application. Communication is definitely up there as well. Is there anything from last meeting that I'm not mentioning that someone happens to remember? Pooja?
I think Victor mentioned something last meeting on prioritizing conferences, competition and events. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he did say something about it. And I think Candace said she sort of agrees with what he said. So Victor, if you can, yeah, something like that, Joshua. So Victor, if you can elaborate on that, that would be helpful.
Victor?
Yeah, I think the idea was kind of relating to, since for our semesterly budgets, just like we have preferences or like priorities for different type of events. So I was thinking if we can if it's just for next semester, apply those type of preferences or to those type of competitions. So it's basically still the same, but all within SARS, basically. So we have to say, SARS is first come, first serve basis, but we should make it so teams or conferences, orgs that have conferences or competitions, they still have the ability to, apply and still be able to get what they would if it was during semesterly budget.
Pooja.
Okay, Tori, you can go. I just have a suggestion to make.
I was just gonna say that if you're prioritizing those first, then that would essentially be not following the Sahas process. So I think doing different pots would be a good idea. So similar to how the semester budget is, you'll put this much money aside for different types of organizations. But as far as prioritizing ones that might get submitted later because they're conferences or competitions, kind of goes against the whole process of Sahas.
Pooja.
Yeah, I think that's what I was essentially going to suggest. That we should have a separate pots, like 3 pots for 3 types of events, or maybe pots for the events that we know are going to happen. For example, I just received an email today from Mock Trial about why it says Sahas and why they're not able to submit semesterly budgets. So I think the events that we know are definitely going to happen. If we can have a pot for them, it will be really helpful.
Yeah, I happen to remember the pots as people were talking about it. So it's a good thing that we're all on the same page now. So I guess my question for you is this something we want to hash out now, or work on it and in progress? But Joshua has something in the chat, so Joshua, you may go.
Yeah, I think that if we were to work on it right now, the only thing that we would be able to do is create the different categories that the student or the events would fall into. But in my head, because we don't know what the budget will look like next semester, or at least in expected budget, it's difficult to give particular amounts to these different pots.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Candace?
Am I on video? Yes. I would say, you could just use the divisions, the percentages that you have in your guiding documents from the semesterly one, right? Whatever your pot is, overall, how much ever money you have for spring events, 60% of it is going to go, or 65% of it goes to virtual on-campus events. 35% of it goes to virtual off-campus events, further divided that 35% into different percentages for conferences, competitions, and other things. You already have the divisions. I don't think you need to do anything with that. You just need to figure out how much money you actually are going to have, which you won't know yet. So there's that.
Siri?
Yeah, sir. I might be misunderstanding what you mean by. I get the pots and the percentages, but what do you mean by virtual on campus, virtual off campus? Because to me, virtual is virtual, so I need a little bit of clarification on that.
Sure. Yeah. So a virtual on-campus event is something like an organization is hosting virtually for students, right? So a virtual off-campus event is we as an organization want to go and do an event that is being hosted by somebody off campus, and we need to pay to do that. So we want to go participate in this competition that Georgetown is doing. That's a virtual off-campus event because it's being hosted by someone off campus, versus on campus, we're hosting this for the people on campus.
Yeah, so I'm understanding everything. Hopefully everyone else understands what's going on. I guess my only concern with and not knowing the budget, would it be wise to maybe change those percentages or leave them as they are? Yeah, Pooja, it's 65% for, or how we would go about those budgets would be 65% goes to on campus, 35% goes to off campus, and then they're each broken down to their own respective percentages. Pooja?
So you mentioned something about broken down. So like 65% for virtual on campus. Do we really need to break it down to events, conferences, and services? Can we not just keep it at 65% for virtual on campus and rest for off campus and not have any other categories within them? Okay. Just something to think about because we're not going to know how many events or conferences we're going to have. So maybe to have a vagueness in that area could be helpful.
Siri mentions that's something we would have to decide as a board. Is that something we want to discuss now? Rashad?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm hearing is that so there's a lot of uncertainties for the budget next semester. So I feel as if it would be prudent of us to wait till we are, determine what our budget is to figure out those numbers. I think if we go step by step, first of all, figuring out, the deadlines for the applications and things like that. And then once we have more information, we can focus our energy into the numbers and percentages and things like that.
Yeah, that Aaliyah is saying to just leave it how it is and adjust later. I agree with that. Pooja, the deadlines for Sahas is more of you have to submit it within like a certain time frame before the event happens. Yeah, as Tori says, we need to decide when like we can start looking at those applications. Because like if we opened it up like now, it would just kind of be semester budgets and that kind of process, just with different rules and guidelines. So if we're good about the pots and the 65-35 waiting until we see the final budget, I think it would be wise to move on to decide when the application can open. Siri has a question on, yeah, they're just due on a certain date in fall. They're not really like, they don't open again, if that makes sense. So with this in mind, is there a time frame that people are leaning for? Siri.
Sorry, but yeah, also point of clarification, because you guys mentioned not wanting two applications open, because I was gonna say like I personally don't mind them like being able to submit now so we have more information as soon as possible. But people are still submitting for fall, and people mentioned that by people also you guys mentioned that you might not want like two applications open at the same time. Personally, like I won't mind. I would know how to like differentiate them, of course, and like multitask, but I guess we will have to decide that as a board, like based on deadlines also, would we want to have two applications open?
Is that in response?
Yes, I was groaning. Sorry. I mean, the application right now has Sahas has button on it for people to do spring 2021 applications. So it's all in the same application. So, I mean, if you want to take that button off, we could take it off until you want to put it back on, then we could put it back on. But right now it's on there. It's always been on there.
Pooja?
So I was gonna add on to Siri's point that she made earlier about the confusion that might having two applications open at the same time can lead to orgs. So my suggestion that I was going to make, or that I'm making, is we should take off spring 2021 as of now and only consider fall 2020 and have spring open in the early January, because spring begins in January. So why look at the applications from now and just have them open in January and consider the fall ones right now?
Joshua?
Yeah, what I have to say is kind of in alignment with what Pooja just said. I think that if we were to open up the spring Sahas application, let's say January 1st, then that would give student organizations that 30 days to apply, and then when we have our first meeting on, I'm not looking at a calendar, but let's say early February, then we'll be able to look at all those back applications as well as continue to look at ones that come about. So that's a date that I'm throwing out there, January 1st, for the application to start out. That way student organizations have 30 days to submit if they wanted to have something at the very beginning of the spring semester. And then the second thing that I wanted to ask, I suppose you, Sierra, is the finance board going to be meeting over winter break? I don't think so, but that's a question for you, so please let me know.
I think it would depend on when those requests are. I don't know if I'm answering this correctly. I did see that Tori had something in response to what you said prior, so this might help with this question. So, Tori, if that was in response to Joshua.
Yeah, it was kind of in response to Sahas as a whole. I mean, technically, Sahas is always rolling no matter what semester it is. So technically, as far as like opening it for spring, it already is. It has always been. Just usually with semesterly budgets, that's not something you have to deal with because there are semesterly budgets. So if it's a full year of normal Sahas, then orgs can be submitting for whenever they choose. It's not necessarily looking at spring in the spring, especially with groups that are competing, because they have to have their stuff looked at sooner versus later, depending on their deadlines. So technically, the way Sahas is written into the budgetary statutes with semesterly budgets is that the Sahas pot is whatever's rolling over from that isn't used from. Well, let me restart. Sahas has its own pots, and then whatever isn't used from semesterly budgets rolls into those as well. So it's broken in half to try to keep it even. But since it is a whole year of Sahas, technically, based on how it's written, there is no deadlines. There is no, all right, spring, you have to wait until spring. It's technically on a first come, first serve basis for whenever, starting now, since you all have gotten rid of semesterly budgets.
I think that lends itself to my answer about work over winter break. I feel like if a request comes in, 45 days out or something, and it just so happens that it's like, early spring semester, then that would land somewhere in winter break. I feel like it's just kind of a play by ear kind of thing, Joshua, honestly, based off of Tori's answer, which, I don't want to do work over winter break, but if that's what we need to do, then we need to do it. So, but if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Tori says we haven't done that before. Hopefully it doesn't happen.
No, usually you have a deadline. I mean, that's the perk of semester budgets, but even when it was Sahas, there was like this is our last finance board meeting date. If your org hasn't submitted before that point, then you got to wait until spring semester.
Okay. I'll have to think about that more. Because I have something brewing in my head, but Murshad has asked to be recognized, so I will recognize Murshad.
So yeah, I was just gonna say something that went in line with all the conversations I've been having. Since both the Sahas applications are open for both fall and spring, I don't think there's a need to reclose the spring one and then open it again. Um, if there's a fear of having two applications open at the same time, I think setting a deadline for the fall one, and when the fall one closes and the spring one continues to be open, is a good idea, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that's along the lines of what I'm thinking, but I'll let Siri go real fast.
Yes, I completely agree with Rashad. Like, I think, we're all like college students. I think we can be able to multitask in that sense. Like, I think if we explain to them what's going on, I believe they can understand. And if we set deadlines like the professors do, they can like understand, okay, I need to submit my fall budget by this time. And then I think it's mainly just when we as a board decide to like start looking and reviewing spring semester budgets, if that makes sense. Because like Tori already said, it's pretty much a rolling application. Like it's open, we're probably not closing it, so they can technically submit spring as soon as we send out the communication. We just have to, I guess, decide when we should actually take our attention away from fall and put it into looking at spring budgets, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
I think that maybe what we could do is like, because like there are orgs who would probably like they already know what they do yearly, so they're gonna be ready to just like submit their things. Like if we say we're opening it tomorrow, they'll probably like submit their stuff. So I think like before we tell orgs that like well it's on a rolling basis, but before we tell them we're gonna start like reviewing or like you can start submitting, I think we should give them like 2 weeks like notice or something so they can kind of start to like get their stuff together. Like if they want to like submit like 5 things, then they'll be like prepared and they'll know what they want to submit. So like all the orgs kind of have the same type of like they all know, okay, we should start to look and think about what we're going to submit instead of just like opening it and saying, hey, submit it and stuff, because it's on like a first come first serve. So just to kind of make it a little bit more balanced, I guess. So yeah, that's my thought.
Rashad.
This is more of a general comment. I'm just thinking about the health of undergraduates and how everything is shifting online after Thanksgiving, and most of the residential students are forced back to move out from res life. And after Thanksgiving, it starts getting into final season too. So I just want us to stay mindful of that and the shift in the semester, which is after Thanksgiving break.
Pooja.
So after the point that the information that Rashad just provided, I think my confusion is if we keep spring 2021 open and we review them along with the fall 2020, like Tori said, we can review them both at the same time. And if they're open, then why not review them? If we do that and campus is gonna go into like will be virtually completely after Thanksgiving, will that affect how the events will work out in spring? Or let's say if we fund something and then the numbers changes or the events gets canceled out and things like that, like uncertain things happens and maybe the work that we just did goes into waste. So I don't know, it was just the confusion that I that I had in mind. So would it be viable to keep it open or to just open it next year?
Joshua?
Yeah, this is definitely prompted by what Pooja just said, but I definitely don't think I would be comfortable with looking at applications and giving a yay or nay on them without having what numbers for next semester will look like. And that's just like a personal thing, surely, but I don't think that that is one fair to us. Then also, I don't think that that is realistic in the grander scheme of all the different confines that we're having to work with.
So Siri is saying we should choose a date of when we start looking at spring. Is that what that means?
Yeah, like I don't know if it was making sense, but I always said like Tori said it's open, the application is open, so I guess they can submit it, whatever, like that's fine. Like, you know, just because you submit papers don't mean your professor's gonna grade it right then. Like I think I don't know if that's like rude though, but like I'm fine with them submitting it so we can like see. I guess we have to send out communication to them, like, you know, like whenever we do send out communication, like, yeah, you can submit it, but we won't start looking at applications until this date. And we can still keep the like first come, first serve order by just looking at them and voting on them by whichever ones came first, if that makes sense. But I don't think that just because someone like submits an application for spring for something in March 2 weeks from today, we have to like jump into looking at it like the next week, you know? Like, am I making sense? I don't know if I am.
Yeah, that's making total sense to me. And I completely agree with that. Pooja?
So it's on the point that Siri just made. I think it's a great point. Yeah, we could set a date for choosing like when we will start looking at the applications. But what if in the time between they submitted the application by anticipating they won't have any uncertainties for spring and then they have to make an update. So by the time we look at the application, they probably would need to make an update. We'll have to reject the application and then have to resubmit it. Or I guess it could potentially lead to something like that and could just lead to lag in time, you know. It's like not having up-to-date information which just happened with us for hackathon. Their numbers changed in just few days, so that could happen with spring applications as well if there's somebody now.
Is there a Siri?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a little confused. Like, I get you're saying like they might have to update it, and like what happened with Hack, like, and we tell them to update it. Like, I don't really know what else we can do. Like, no matter whatever's happening with Spring, organization might have to update the application regardless. So I'm not really sure like your fear about that part, if that makes sense.
Oh, I thought once they apply, they can't make any updates to their application. I mean, if they can make updates to the application until we review them, then that's fine. So what I was morely saying, Siri, was the numbers that have been submitted in November could change, in January or February, and then they might not have a chance to make update. Okay, cool. Thanks, Tori, for the clarification.
Tori.
Hi. So based on your budgetary statutes in, I think it's Article 7, yeah, Sahas isn't broken up semesterly. So orgs can always be, especially now that semesterly budgets are gone, can always be requesting for spring and the fall. They could be doing it now if they wanted to, prior to taking away, assuming it was a normal year. If it was a new org, they could be doing that already. However, they haven't in the past because there's always been semesterly budgets. So technically, I mean, you would just say, free game, here you go, start applying for spring. Obviously, you don't know what is happening with a budget. So you would be using fall funding. So whatever's left in the Sahas pot, in that those can go towards those spring events. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen I mean, Pooja, you wouldn't have to choose a date. You would just already be reviewing it. So if someone put in a spring budget tomorrow, you would review it at your next meeting. And it would come out of the fall budget. But technically, Sahas isn't broken up semesterly to begin with. The only semesterly aspect of Sahas isn't applicable anymore because budgets aren't a thing. So the only semesterly aspect would be if we had, I know this is obviously only $100, but if we had $100 for semester budgets and we spent 50 of it, that other 50 would just roll to Sahas. So that's the only aspect of semesterly budgets that applies to Sahas. Technically, there's never been any deadlines or time frames regarding Sahas. So, I mean, the only thing I would suggest as far as that is when you're hitting the end of your budget, and if you don't have answers on what spring is yet, that you put a pause on reviewing budgets until you know how much money you're going to have to work with in the spring. But technically, you should be already reviewing spring budgets if they're coming in.
Pooja?
So if I understood what Tori said, so basically if we keep spring 2021 option open and we vote on it, it will basically be giving money out of fall 2020. Am I getting it? Okay. Thank you.
So I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just for recommendation, Tori, you said we should be like, is that a recommendation or that's a we have to?
I mean, you should be because your budgetary statutes don't say anything about not doing that. So like your budgetary statutes just say that it's first come, first serve, and that technically the circumstances under here don't follow anymore because it's like for new orgs or orgs that couldn't adhere to budgetary stat or submitting a semesterly budget, which I guess is the situation that we're in. But there is no limits on when people can apply outside of how much they're asking for funding. So the only timelines in the student org budgetary statutes is that if they're asking for between 1,000 and 3,000, it has to be submitted 45 days in advance, and if it's over 3K, it has to be submitted 60 days in advance. Those are the only deadlines in there. So yes, technically you would have to be doing that because if they're submitted before the deadline, it's first come, first serve, so you should be reviewing them.
Okay, yeah, I just needed that clarification. If it was something we can work around due to our current situation, or we like absolutely had to. So thank you.
So I guess my question for you all is, do we just not want to worry about a deadline to start looking at them? Or do we want to set that for ourselves? If that's what I'm gleaning from this conversation. Joshua?
Yeah, I think that it really does have to be based off of the budget whenever we get those numbers. Like we can look at them, but we just can't call any of the student organizations into finance board. We can't necessarily render decisions on them. Well, you could render decisions on the application itself, but then it has to always be contextualized in what the budget actually looks like. Right. So like that's where my head is right now.
Joshua, you would be using the fall Sahas pot for those spring events. So just because it's fall doesn't mean it has to be at this point used in fall because the semesterly budgets are out the window. Does that make
so you're
sense?
saying, yeah, say that one more time for me. I'm
Yeah,
exhausted. So
no. Yeah, so technically it's not fall pot has to be used specifically for fall. So if tomorrow Candace's org, the Rubik's Cube Club, puts in a spring request for something, that money would be coming out of that fall pot that we already know we have the money for. Does that make sense? So you're technically not looking at requests anymore as spring versus fall. They're just requests. And the only difference is you don't know how much your total pot is to work with for fall and spring. You only know what your half of it is. So once you hit that point, like let's say we hit how much we have already approved, but we don't know yet what's going to happen in the spring, you can put a pause and say, we're not approving any more budgets until we know how much money we have for the spring. And I mean, so no, it wouldn't be funded out of Pooja. The way the budget works is a fiscal year starts on July 1st. So all of this is the 2020-2021 budget. So the aspect is though that semesterly we don't know enrollment and fees and things like that yet to plan accordingly.
Okay, so Rashad mentioned, oh my goodness, I'm very sorry. Rashad mentions that we're going to be looking at a low density return for spring, so I'm going to assume we're going to be in the same situation regarding our budget. If that is not a safe assumption, please tell me. But that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm sitting on right now. So I feel like we would just end up with the same amount. Yeah, Siri. Would you want to use the pause now?
So you can't use the pause now because you chose Sahas. If you had semesterly budgets, you can, but you chose Sahas. So Sahas means orgs can be applying now and you have to review them now. That's what your budgetary statutes say. So you can use a pause when you run out of money, but this was the route that you all chose by using Sahas.
Victor?
Yeah. Okay. So since we can use the pause, that means we have to decide on what to do, like soon. And I'm talking about like the percentages for like, for the application. Like the pots, we have to like divide those applications into.
I don't think the percentages matter. Pooja.
Okay, so I think I'm confusing myself on this discussion. So based on what Tori said and what the discussion just happened, if I'm understanding it correctly, there are two ways we can do this. First, keep the spring application open the way it is, or choose to open it in January for next semester. If we keep them open for now, it's just going to be funding from the money that we have currently, and then putting a stop when we don't have money if there are more requests, because we don't know the numbers for spring semester, as we don't know if we're going to ask for full student activity fee or not. And if we go for the second option, that is to open Sahas in January, then that would mean to have a budget and the numbers to work around, not to work around, but just to have that budget information and then making decision based on that. Am I understanding it correctly? Tori, Candice, Courtney, anybody, if you can answer.
Candice.
Right. So there's one option, because you voted last week to do Sahas. And that option is to let students know that there's no semesterly application and that they are free to request money for spring and fall events right now. And then once you run out of the money that you do know you have, you would then have to pause reviewing requests for both fall and spring. You could get like 7 requests for spring right now, and that could use up all of your money, and then you would have to stop. And if you get requests for fall, you couldn't do them. And then once you know what your money situation is for spring, you could then reopen it again. But there is no like, this is when people can request for spring. Like people can request for fall right now, and then they can request for spring later. They can request for whatever until you run out of money. And when you run out of money, then you have to stop approving. If you get more money, you can continue approving on a first come, first served basis, regardless of when the date is. Now, if you, and I don't even know if I should say it. Let's just stop there because I don't want to confuse you. But yeah, the application, what you need to tell student orgs is there is no semesterly budget. The gates are open for fall and spring. Send us your requests and we will fund them on a first come, first served basis until we run out of money. That's it.
Liam.
Okay, so honestly, that sounds like chaos. Okay, yeah, Candace is agreeing. So my question is there a reason in particular we could not set a date saying this is when you can start requesting spring stuff?
Yes, there is a reason. Your
Okay.
budgetary statutes.
Okay.
Your budgetary statutes say it's a pot. Anybody can do the pot. Come take from the pot. And when the pot's empty, we're done. That's what your budgetary statutes say. If you want to and I would, as your advisor, and I think that Tori and Courtney would agree, advise to stay as close to your budgetary statutes as you possibly can, because you are already veering from them significantly, right?
Yep.
Because you're not doing semesterly budgets. So, yeah.
My next question is, when would we normally start taking in applications for the semesterly budget? That's middle of this month?
Yeah, the
In 3
deadline would have
days.
been on Friday. Yeah, the deadline would have been Friday. And then you would have had all of those applications, would probably been about like 100 of them, and you would start reviewing them, and you'd have 45 days to review all of them, and then push out an announcement to the orgs to say, hey, here's what you got for the spring.
Okay, so I don't know how to phrase this better. Is there any way that we could delay said announcement about the lack of a semesterly budget and how we're just going to do Sahas? Is there any way to delay that announcement to say middle or end of this month so that we have enough time for orgs to get fall funding if they want it? Because if they have to request it 45 days out or 30 days out, depending on what they're requesting for, I feel like at the end of this month, there's only about 40 days left in the semester, meaning they will have hit that limit. So if there's a way that we can delay this announcement by a week or two, then we would have closed that window of reasonable fall Sahas requests, in which case there would be no more feels bad if we use up all our money for spring, because all the fall people would have had their chance at that point. So I guess my question there is, okay, so Courtney's saying we should let them know the information as soon as possible. I don't know. It creates a feels bad. Whereas if we get a lot of spring requests, because Candace just said we will have, 100 semesterly we would normally have like 100 regular requests for the semesterly budget. If we're getting that all in Sahas and that uses up all our fall budget money for the Sahas, then it's kind of unfair to those orgs who have a fall event, if there is still one later.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Candace.
Go ahead, Tori. Go ahead, Tori. I've taken up a lot of space.
You're not being transparent then if you wait. These meetings are recorded. orgs can go in and see already that the decision, it's already been made. You didn't vote to, this is the vote that you made, and this is the consequences of the decisions of using Sahas. So technically, no, you can't.
Okay.
It probably should have already gone out, but.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I had.
Good. Okay. Pooja?
Yeah, I completely agree with Tori because I've already had emails from my student orgs asking information about whether we're pushing the deadlines or not, or what type of format we're choosing for next semester's budget. So I think it's really important that we send out that communication as soon as possible. And second is a question to Candice. So based on all you, Tori, and everyone else said, I think choosing a date to open spring Sahas applications is just out of the, it's just not one of the options, right? Or is it? I'm still confused. It's just like Leon said, it's a chaos.
Yeah, it is chaos, which is why you stopped doing this as a finance board and moved to a semesterly budget. That's why 2 years ago, the finance board said, no, we're done with this because it's chaos. But that's where you are now. Do I think it's going to be okay? Yeah, I think it's going to be okay. Do I think that there's some orgs that are ready to hit submit right now for spring? Yeah, I do. And if they look carefully at the application, they could see that they probably could have already done it because it's an option. But it doesn't allow for you to be able to. The Sahas system, if you use it as the whole system, doesn't allow for you to be able to make really informed choices about fall and spring because you're just reviewing an application on its merits and you don't get to see the whole picture, right? So but that's that's where you are right now. So I think we are of the same mind as advisors that our advice to you is to send something out to student orgs as soon as you can about because the deadline is technically Friday. And if you let that deadline go and people are like, well, no, you didn't tell us anything like that, then you're going to have orgs that are mad at you. If you just tell them what's up, then they can do what they need to do or figure out how to do what they need to do. But I just think you need to push out this information as soon as possible and sort of roll with it and see what happens. I don't think you're going to get a ton of requests. You're not going to get 100 requests, but you might get 4, 5, 6 requests from some competition and conference orgs that are ready to roll. And then you have to think about how much you want to fund them and try and guess how much you're going to get asked for in the future. That's the game of Sahas, right? It makes it really difficult. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of basically what Tori and Candice said is basically what I was gonna say. Candice already kind of made edits to the the email that I had drafted up for sending out to the orgs about what our decision is. And since we only have one option, there isn't anything more to adjust to it. So that can I can communicate that, send it to the representatives to send out to their treasurers. So yeah, that email is already done. So we can kind of get that information out there.
Pooja?
Just out of curiosity, there is no turning back, right? To a semesterly budget can be reworked.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
I would just stick with it. There's a phrase, I'm not going to use it. Involves a bed. You made a decision, you voted on it, just sort of move forward with that, right? Just keep moving, right? And sort of manage the situation the best that you can. That's what you got to do.
Victor?
Yeah, based on what Candace says, I think it's gonna be all right, to be honest, because we're probably gonna be online next semester, and not that much. I don't think that much organizations will want to hold events, or even if they do, they wouldn't request as much as they would normally. So yeah, it's probably gonna be okay. And yeah, if not, we just have to deal with it. But
All right, so I think we're nearing the end of our conversation. And just to recap, we're going to communicate that semesterly budgets aren't a thing. People can begin to, not begin, they already have had the option to, but spring requests can start coming in. We can start reviewing them until we run out of money. Then we can say, all right, we're just gonna take a breather for a second until we get our budget for next semester. And then we'll just continue with what we're doing. So, is everyone on board? You're already on board because we voted for this, but Pooja.
Oh, I was just gonna say maybe rephrase it rather than saying until we have the money. Like maybe say it in a way that you can start applying for SAHAS. Option is open. We've removed semesterly budgets, and we will consider applications for the amount of money that we have for now. And then for spring, if we are out of the money, then we will have to look at the numbers that we have for spring. I think that's what essentially you said, but maybe I think you said something a little bit different from what you said.
All right. So, if everyone understands what's going on, we can end this period of discussion. We got everything laid out for us, pretty much, so. Yeah, go ahead.
I move to end the period of discussion.
I second that.
Are there any objections? I see or hear no objections. By general consent, we are ending this period of discussion on SAHAS for spring. Does anyone have any liaison check-in, finance board liaison check-in? I don't know what that was, but we can go ahead and skip if nobody has anything. All right, we can assume that the biggest thing for liaison is our communication regarding SAHAS. Pooja?
Just wanted to say that, we can't skip the liaison if you want to, but just so the board knows, I've received emails asking about the deadline and how we're going to accept requests for the next semesters, just so you guys know. So maybe we should, what I think we should discuss on now is when to communicate our vote that we made in last meeting, and to communicate all that Sierra said. Like pick a date, tonight, tomorrow night, when.
Oh yeah.
So the email is already drafted, and I just looked over it right now, and it aligns pretty much with everything that we said in this meeting. So I could send that out to you today, and you guys can send it, whenever. And I think Sierra has access to it, so if you want, you could bring it up. But yeah, so I can send that out today, and yeah.
Yeah, if it's already written up, that was the only thing that I was worried about, is if it was not written up to completion, but we can definitely make those posts to the org pages, the treasurer page, and then have it sent out on the liaison system. So we can do that. Yeah, we'll have that ready by the end of the meeting. So now we have the monthly report. Actually, if nobody else has any liaison contact stuff, I'm gonna assume it's a no, because it's usually a no. Going once. Going twice. All right, we're done with liaison for tonight, so we can move on to the monthly report. Based off of last time, it was more of us just brainstorming what we were going to put on, and personally, I I don't think that that would be a good use of our time at the moment. Something that Candace mentioned in our pre-meeting was coming up with a small committee from board members to write this up. So just putting this out there for everyone to think about. If a committee to work on it outside of meeting times would be more beneficial to us than using meeting times. We can have a quick discussion on that. Pooja?
Also, wouldn't it be better to discuss this on record? Because what usually happens is our meetings are recorded and uploaded on YouTube, and people had access to everything that we discussed. So wouldn't it be beneficial to have them access to this discussion as well, rather than doing it off the record?
Candace?
Yeah, so my recommendation was to have an ad hoc committee established to write this and then present it to finance board for approval at your next meeting. So it would be on record what was written in the monthly report, and you could all vote on it to say whether or not you approve it to be your monthly report. And not all of your work has to happen in this meeting, right? Yeah, then the board could edit it, right? Yeah, so you could have an ad hoc committee formed to sort of draft it up, bring it to the rest of the board, have give it to you by maybe like Sunday so that you could review it on Monday, Tuesday for your Tuesday night meeting, and then you could come with your edits, and then sort of through consensus come to a place where you feel like, okay, we're all on board with this. But the writing of that report, I don't think needs to of the meat and potatoes of it, I don't think needs to happen in this meeting. So yeah.
My question for the board is that something that you would want to do? Have a committee that would draft it and then present it? Yeah, okay. As to how many people? Yeah, I guess who would like to be on the committee? 3? Yeah, I was thinking 3. I would volunteer to be on that committee since, it would be my job anyways to write it up. So far, me and Pooja. One more person?
Okay.
All right, we got Pooja, Rahman, and I working on the monthly report. I mean, if anyone wants to pop in on those, you can email me outside of the meeting. But with that figured out, I will reach out to Pooja and Rahman about a meeting time later this week to draft that up, and we can move on to the update on the SRC process. So, Aaliyah, if you would please enlighten us, you can do it.
Okay, so after the first stipend review committee meetings, people kind of talked about, like, people who were on SGA before, they said how, like, the old method of how they submitted their SRCs was more convenient and it was easier. So we decided to switch back to like meet their concerns. So we're going to work on updating the weekly link that's sent in the chat. But basically, instead of a Google form, we're going to have a spreadsheet, and you can access the spreadsheet by going into your SGA share drive and then clicking on like stipend review committee, like SRC 2020 to 2021. And there's 3 different like sections, one for executive branch, one for Senate, and one for finance board. And then everybody has their own like sheet. Like, I can't really show you guys, but like when you like do it, you'll see it, and everybody has their own sheet, so you can keep track of your answers, and you can like kind of look back at that to like answer everything. So yeah, that's the update. Yeah, it's a spreadsheet now. If you guys want to look at it, you can go see it in the shared drive. But yeah, that's it.
Are there any questions for Aaliyah regarding that? The new update? If not, we can move on to announcements.
Also, we would like it's going to be active as starting this Friday. So your Friday stipend review form, you would do it on the spreadsheet. So we're starting from this week until forever or something else changes. So yeah.
Okay. If there are no questions for Aaliyah, yeah, that sounds good to me. Questions for Aaliyah going once. Were you gonna say something, Aaliyah?
Oh no, that was an accident. I didn't know I did that.
Oh, that's fine. Questions for Aaliyah going twice. All right. If there's nothing for Aaliyah, we can move on to announcements. So if anyone has any announcements, please let me know. Joshua?
I have three quick ones. One, I sent an email earlier in the week. I attached Sierra, Aaliyah, and I believe Candace to that email, but it was just a congratulations email to Crew. They had their event, which I think was the first event that we funded for the semester, and they had a great turnout. I went, Sierra Gray Coker from the Student Organization Support Team, she also went, so just wanted to give them a shout out as we are still live streamed. The second thing is the SOSP. They are coordinating a luncheon that's going to be happening on November 20th. It's called the Presidents in Excellence, Facing the Future Together. It's basically just an event with a few different sessions that are going to be hosted by presidents, bringing all of them together, sharing ideas, sharing the trials and tribulations and triumphs of the semester and how to face what next semester will look like. So I did want to give that, keep this on your radar. Once it has been formally approved and we've sent out the invitation, which should go out this week, I will make sure that all of you guys get one as well, and it's added to your calendar. And then the last thing is, I wanted to revisit the conversation that we had, the brief conversation that we had about prizes. And I wanted to just throw out there that I think it should potentially be a discussion point for future meetings, not necessarily next meeting, but future meetings, because I think that with the language in our budgetary statutes being so ambiguous, it rendered us kind of useless. Like, we couldn't give an answer. We do we fund prizes? Do we not fund prizes? If we don't fund prizes and they are considered just equipment, then what about when maybe Campus Life, and we're not Campus Life obviously, but potentially Campus Life gives out a prize, but it's UMBC branded? Is that a completely different story? Are we going to try to set a limit for what we will fund for prizes? So I just wanted to throw out there that I think that that's a conversation we should have in the future.
Are there any other announcements, Courtney?
So I just wanted to give a reminder right before we go into final roll call. When we do pass the gavel, each person should be staying present until the very end of our meeting. I know in the past we've had a couple of people pop in and out as soon as they're done sharing. I just want to let everyone know that that's not the way we typically do that, and just out of respect for everyone and peers, everyone is expected to stay until the very end of the meeting.
Any other announcements? Going once? Going twice? And we're done with announcements for the night. So we can move on to final roll call. I don't know why I said it like that. Sorry. I recognize that Acha is present, Aaliyah is present, Joshua is present, Liam is present, Pooja is present, Rahman is present, Siri is present, and Victor is present, as well as ex officio members Candace Courtney, Tori, and then our secretary, Tony, with FYA Matthew. And I call this meeting adjourned at 7:42 p.m. I will stop recording.